Woo! If that ain't 80s, what is?
Hi everyone, my name is Andre with Plugin Alliance, and today we're going to be talking to Erik Blu2th Griggs, who's a musician, composer, engineer, and we're going to be talking about sounds of the 80s. Erik, what is it about the 80s that you connect with so much?
You know, a lot of times we're in the studio, we forget that the emotions that are in the studio come out in the music. And another thing we forget a lot of times is these sounds that we're hearing from the 80s, at that time, they were brand new. So people were seeing these new synths in the studio and saying, how does this even sound? And then when they found out how it sounded, they were creating a new interplay between those and the instruments they were already using, guitars, basses, and drums. Then we had new drum machines, and all of that was being integrated with what we already had. And from a listener's standpoint, this is, I've never heard anything like this before type of thing. And now we're reverting in a nostalgic way. So I love being my age because I got to experience it from both perspectives. One, what is this? I've never heard this before when it came out. And now I've heard this many times before and I know how it makes me feel. Let me recreate that.
These sounds that were created in the 80s, they've become popular again, you know, nowadays.
Yes, and I love that. I love that because now we have both the digital in full swing and the analog. We can go back to use those keyboards, but we also have digital representations of those keyboards. So there's so much we can do now with that sound across all genres, because I mean, just from a synth and guitar standpoint, like guitar including bass guitar, right? So you'll have synths and guitars from Everybody Wants to Rule the World, or, you know, The Police, all the way to P-Funk, right? So, but it's still synths and guitars. It's just a different approach of using those same instruments. All right, let's get into it, because you already know how I feel about the way that guitars and synths and the drum machines of the day and bass would get together and create sonic nostalgia. There's a thing that happened in the 80s when all those things were new and they just came together. Just listen to it. Do you see what I'm saying? It's a thing that happened. It's not about complicated chord changes. It's just 1, 6, 5, 4, like a billion other songs. But it's not about the chord changes. It's about the sonics and how everything felt back then. Okay, so for the drum sound, this is kind of interesting because I didn't really go 80s rock specifically with the drums. I just went 80s, 90s with the drums, because that's how versatile the LinnDrum sound is. The LinnDrum machine came out in 1982 and it changed the face of music. Certain pieces of gear did that, and the 80s is when a lot of those pieces of gear came out. So this is the era of the LinnDrum sound. Let me play you the drums by themselves. It almost doesn't sound 80s rock until the rest of it comes in. I could have gone anywhere. I could have gone funky. I could have gone R&B. I could have gone hip hop, early hip hop. I could have gone Prince. If I really want to, I can make some funk. Yeah. I know you want some funky music, babe. Give you what you want. Ooh, baby. That's not 80s rock. But when you put it with everything else, it's just as much 80s rock as it is funky, which is just Incredible versatility, the LinnDrum kit. I still use it today in a lot of things. So the way I created this is I use battery, and I just drag the sounds to different pads, and voila, you know what I'm saying? They are assigned to notes on my keyboard. The beauty of battery. And they also are going to different tracks down here. So one instrument is going to multiple tracks because each one of these pads is sent to a different output. So when I bounce it, it's going to bounce to different tracks even though it's one instrument. This is a way to not use too much of your computer's resources and get what you need. Okay, that's a little tip. Just a little tip for you. So one of the major things I did with this kit is I put a gated reverb on the kick. It's a very 80s thing to do, and I'll show you what that is, right? So what a gate does, it allows sound to get through over a certain threshold and cuts it off under a certain threshold. So when the sound goes below the threshold, it goes away. Here's what happened. Kick. Kick with reverb. Reverb's too long. So I use this gate to stop it under a certain threshold, right? Then, that's very 80s. So, this is without. So now, the reverb becomes a rhythmic element along with the drums. So with the bass, I'm really going for a Tears for Fears / Beat It sound. And I actually use two different bass sounds to pull that off. One of them is my Tears for Fears-ish bass. Say that 5 times fast. But there's also this one. That brings the beat it. I'm actually going to put this next to the drums because that's visually where I want it to be. And the reason for that is the kick drum and the bass have to agree. However they agree is up to you, but they have to agree or you don't have a groove. So you can see when I play them together that the bass and the kick are happening at the same time and they're creating what's called the groove. And the spaces between those kicks and snares and bass are the pockets that everything else sits in. So that's what musicians mean when they say, pocket, play pocket. It means sit in the pockets created by the grooves and stay there. Check out the kick and bass relationship. Still make some funk, baby, if I wanted to, ooh, yeah. All right, now it's time to get to third bass. Yes, there's a third bass. There's 2 synth basses, and then there's a live bass. Why am I doing that? Because those layers are what creates the 80s sound, man. It's the layers, man. All right, so here's what the bass is doing. It's really simple. It's creating rhythm and carrying the undercurrent and rumbling underneath. That's all it's doing for me, but it's really important. Watch this. See, that gives me the police. So you know you got Tears, you got Beat It, and you got the police. And this is what they sound like together. Sometimes you gotta let Sting do what he does under all this stuff. Shout out to Sting. And I think the next thing I would do is the guitars. I'm doing all my rhythmic elements first, and then I'm adding my pads and things that are ethereal under those things. So my rhythmic elements contain guitars as well. And it's also very much a part of the sound. So this is where we go all the way 80s rock. We've been veering, and now we get there with these guitars. See, this other guy's doing the same thing, doing a complementary part to that on the left side with a little delay. He's on the left, he's on the right. Okay, now we got a vibe. Now we got a vibe. Now we got 80s. Now we got an 80s vibe. What you really can't forget, though, is the blue chorus. This one I'm going to turn it off and turn it back on so you can hear what I'm talking about, right? So I'm going to turn the blue chorus off. All right, it sounds like a guitar. It sounds nice, right? Instant 80s. Instant 80s. That chorus is nice. That's clean and that's sweet. But that's not rock enough for me to truly feel like I'm 80s rock with it. So, come on, power chords, of course. I'm gonna put some power chords in there. Stack that one on the left, one on the right. Give you that nice stereo image and nostalgia. All right. But that's not it. See, these are parts. These are not licks. These are parts. It's cool to play licks, guys. It's wonderful to be able to play really fast licks. But hit records are made with parts. Things that are very intentional to serve a purpose in the record, all the way through the record. Not just in the solo. I'm just trying to give you some game here. That's all I'm trying to do. But here's another part, because I want it to be a little bit more rock influenced, but still soft. Like soft rock, not hard rock. So I added this. Same amp. That ain't 80s, what is? Now let's play all the guitars together. So you gotta have the power chords, right? The power chords are important to have just in the background doing their thing. They got a little grunge to them, but they're clean at the same time because the amp is that sweet. Speaking of the amp, let's talk about it. This amp right here, I really fell in love with this amp. Let's just hear the distortion power chords by themselves. Yeah, the 9000 console. Just, 7.2 dB up at 4.4K. That's really all I did. It's a mid boost. So what am I going to put in there to sweeten it up and just have a thing happening that just adds a little glitter to it? Well, I'm glad you asked. This. Same amp. Yes. Same chorus. Little Kirchhoff EQ. A little more EQ from the 9000. I get excited because this is when music was really felt like something. I'm gonna play everything. You know, it just makes me want to go crazy on guitar. Like, it just makes me want to... Hold on. Matter of fact, hold on. Wait, which one? Now we just left Prince and we went to Tears for Fears and the Police. So since I'm going for the Tears for Fears and I'm going for the Police and I'm generally going for the 80s, there's one thing that I absolutely have to do. I can't get around it. I have to do it or it ain't 80s. So one of the things I have done, all but inadvertently, while I was playing these parts, is that I created a theme. The theme to me would be this. See, when you happen upon magic like that, you make sure that it's pronounced well in the track. You don't just gloss over something like that. This is a signature thing to do. So, okay, well, what am I going to do? Well, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to find something I can use to accentuate that theme. And what I used was a synth. Come on, it's 80s, right? And I used the Brainworx Oberhausen to do it. This is power bendy brass. So now if I play those things together. Yeah. All right. So now just up until there, let's play all those things together. All right. I just felt like I needed a little more melodic content with that. You know, pick a melody, accentuate that even further. So I did this. And together. And together. Okay, now what? I mean, the groove is created. We got a nice groove. We can sing to it. We can do what we got to do. However, what would make it even sweeter? Guys, it's not completely 80s without pads, okay? So, I went back to the Oberhausen, Africa Brass. Check it out. See, the thing about this pad is it also creates alternate melodies. There's another melody going on that's slower than the other melody and subtle, But the more melodies you can introduce that are infectious into your track and into your song, the more opportunity you have for a hit record, because those are the things that the human ear attaches to. So I'm not just playing the chords. I could have done that. I'm doing this. So since I have that melody, I'm going to accentuate that melody with another layer, which would be this. So those two pads together. So it's not just holding down the chords, it's also creating an alternate melody that goes like this when you put it with the synths and guitars. And let's not forget the drums. Let me quit before I get lost in this. So when the tooth gets 80s, that's basically what happens. Just letting you know. If you liked it, hit me up in the comments. Hit Plugin Alliance up in the comments. Tell us we did a good job. If you think it's stupid, then hit us up in the comments and tell us how we can improve. Peace.
So let us know in the comments what you thought about Erik's sounds. And we would like to know what you're working on. What sort of 80s sounds are inspiring you? And what are the songs that you most enjoyed back then? So if you want to recreate these sounds, be sure to check out the Mega Bundle. It's our complete portfolio. You can download all of the plugins, use them for 30 days as a trial. So check out the details in the link below. So if you want to see more content like this, be sure to like and subscribe to the Plugin Alliance YouTube channel.